Welcome back, everyone. Today, we will be breaking down 10 things you can do if police ask to see your gun. Sir, can I see your gun for a second? You're standing there. Maybe it's in your glove box, maybe it's on your hip. The officer's tone sounds casual, but your heart rate spikes. Do you hand it over? Do you say no? Can they legally demand that? And more importantly, what do you say in that exact moment without making things worse? Because this is one of those encounters where one wrong move, literally one movement, can escalate everything. Let's break this down carefully. If police ask you to see your firearm, you are now in a high-risk interaction, not just legally, but physically. Your words matter, your hands matter, even your tone matters. Say too much, you may give up rights. Move too fast, you may create danger. Consent too quickly, you may open the door to a full search. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what officers are looking for, what the law may allow them to do, and the safest way to respond step by step. You'll learn the exact phrases to use, why those phrases protect you, and the biggest mistakes people make in this situation. Let's start with the first trap most people fall into. When an officer says, "Can I see your gun?" most people hear it as a command. It's not always a command. A lot of the time it's a request, and that difference matters. Here's how it sounds in real life. "Hey, just for my safety, can you hand me your firearm?" That sounds reasonable. It sounds like cooperation is expected, so people comply immediately. Before we go anywhere further, comment where in the world you're watching from and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. But here's the issue. The moment you hand it over voluntarily, you may have just given consent to a seizure and possibly opened the door to further inspection. What the officer is often doing here is trying to establish control and gather information without needing probable cause yet. So what should you do instead? You respond calmly, clearly, and without hostility. "Officer, I want to comply with all lawful orders. Am I being required to hand it over, or is that a request?" That sentence is powerful. Why? Because you're not refusing, you're not escalating, but you are forcing clarity. If it's a lawful order, the officer will say so. If it's a request, now you know you have a choice. And that leads us to the second mistake people make: talking too much. The moment a firearm is involved, people start explaining everything. "Yeah, it's registered. I just got it. I carry it for protection. I was at the range earlier." Stop. Every extra word is information, and information can be used against you, misunderstood, or taken out of context. Officers are trained to listen for inconsistencies, admissions, or anything that gives them legal grounds to go further. So instead, keep your response tight and controlled. If they continue questioning you, you can say, "I prefer not to answer questions. I'm happy to comply with lawful instructions." That does two things. It shows cooperation without giving up your right to remain silent. Now, let's talk about something even more important: your hands. This is where things go bad fast. If an officer asks about your gun, their concern is safety. Their eyes are on your hands. If you suddenly reach towards your waistband or glove box without clear instruction, that can escalate instantly. So never move toward the firearm unless explicitly told to. If the officer says, "Go ahead and grab it," do not just move. Clarify first. You say, "Officer, for everyone's safety, I will not reach for the firearm. Please give me clear instructions on how you'd like to proceed." This is critical. You are showing awareness, you are showing restraint, and you are putting the responsibility for the next step on the officer, where it belongs. Now, let's get into the third big trap: accidental consent. Sometimes the officer will shift language. "Do you mind if I take a look at it?" That sounds harmless, but legally that can be consent to search or inspect. Once you say yes, you may lose the ability to challenge what happens next. So if you do not want to give consent, you must say so clearly but respectfully. Here's the exact phrase: "Officer, I do not consent to any searches or seizures." Notice the tone: no attitude, no aggression, just clarity. Why does this matter? Because courts often look at whether you clearly express your lack of consent. Silence is not always enough. Politeness is fine, but it must be paired with clear words. Now here's where people get it wrong. They think saying "I don't consent" means they can resist. No, you never physically resist. If the officer proceeds anyway, you let it happen, and you say this: "I am not resisting, but I do not consent." That sentence protects you. It creates a clear record. You did not agree, but you did not escalate. Let's move to the fourth mistake people make, trying to argue the law on the spot. You might know your rights, you might even be correct, but the roadside is not the courtroom. If you start debating, that's illegal, you can't do that, I know my rights, you risk escalating tension. And in a firearm-related encounter, escalation is dangerous. So instead, shift your focus. Your goal is not to win the argument there. Your goal is to stay safe and preserve your rights for later. So if things continue, you ask a simple question. Am I being detained or am I free to go? This forces the officer to clarify your status. If you're free to go, you leave. If you're detained, now the legal standard changes, and you've created a clear record. If questioning continues, you can take it one step further. I am invoking my right to remain silent. I would like to speak to a lawyer. Again, calm, controlled, no hostility. Now let's talk about something people underestimate. Tone and body language. You can say all the right words, but say them the wrong way, and the situation changes. If your tone is aggressive, sarcastic, or confrontational, it increases risk. So your delivery should be steady and neutral. Think of it this way. You're not trying to win the interaction. You're trying to get through it safely and cleanly. Hands visible, movement slow, voice calm. Now here's an important legal reality. Gun laws and police authority vary depending on where you are. Some states require disclosure if you're carrying. Some allow temporary disarmament during a stop. Some have very different rules depending on whether you're in a vehicle or on foot. So you cannot assume one universal rule applies everywhere. That's why your safest approach is procedural, not argumentative. You're not guessing the law in the moment. You're controlling your behavior. You're using clear phrases. You're avoiding consent. And you're not escalating. Let's quickly walk through how this sounds in a clean, controlled interaction. Officer, do you have a weapon on you? You, yes, officer. Officer, can I see it? You, I want to comply with all lawful orders. Is that a requirement or a request? Officer, just hand it over for now. You, for safety, I will not reach for the firearm. Please give me clear instructions on how you'd like to proceed. Officer proceeds to take it. You, I am not resisting, but I do not consent to any searches or seizures. Officer asks more questions. You, I prefer not to answer questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go? That's it. No drama, no escalation, no unnecessary information. Just controlled, lawful communication. Now let's go over the biggest warnings. Do not talk your way through the situation. Do not reach suddenly or without instruction. Do not give casual consent just to be nice. Do not argue the law on the roadside. Do not become rude or aggressive. And most importantly, do not try to physically resist, even if you believe the officer is wrong. Save that fight in court, because the safest framework in any of these encounters is simple. Stay calm, comply with lawful commands, do not consent to searches, keep your hands visible, limit what you say, ask if you're detained, and request a lawyer if questioning continues. If you follow that structure, you dramatically reduce your risk, legally and physically. And if you think this situation is intense, wait until you see what happens when police say, step out of the vehicle. That's where a lot of people lose their rights without realizing it. Watch the next video because what you say in that moment matters just as much.